good afternoon, all our dear viewers. A very hearty welcome to each one of you. High statement, reached and kept, were not attained by a sudden flight, but when their companions slept, toiling upwards in the night. This is Joy Khan, your host for the afternoon. As ambassador of change, I send greetings on behalf of GETI, the Global Education and Training Institute, a name to reckon where excellence is a continuous process and not an accident, where the things you do for yourself are gone, things you do for others remain your legacy. Championing the cause of education and holding the beacon of excellence, we have dearly revered founder, director, to Sunita Gandhi, who has not only founded and conceptualized, also a partner with a broad vision of disruptive education. Marvelous perseverance and persistent efforts has enabled her to carve a niche for herself and placed Getty on a high pedestal as one of the most premium training institutes. Under it, we provide two types of training. One, pre-service for the aspiring teachers who wish to be outstanding teachers in future, and the other in service, where we train teachers who are already in service. In these live forums, we also conduct live talks under the GETI Talks, where we invite bureaucrats, policymakers, entrepreneurs, and speakers from all around the globe to enlighten us with varied educational practices carried out. Under the foremost vision of Dr. Gandhi, we are continuously striving to bring about transformative changes in education through our constant efforts. Dear viewers, it is a matter of extreme honor as I invite our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Tony Raj, SJ, Principal Xavier School, Jamshedpur, Jharkhand. Sir, we are very much honored to have you with us this afternoon as our distinguished speaker, and we are grateful and thank you for having graciously consented to enlighten us by sharing your views and experience on the topic educating digital learners with socio-emotional accent. Now, without much ado, let me briefly highlight upon the illustrious career of Dr. Tony. Dr. P. Anthony Raj, also known as Father Tony, a PhD holder on emotional intelligence from the perspective of neuroscience, was the first and founder principal of Loyola School, Bhubaneswar. He established Loyola Oriya Medium School, subsequently in the same campus. He has also been a principal of Loyola College of Education, Jamshedpur in 2014, and he relinquished the post to become associate professor at St. Xavier's College of Education, Patna, to guide research students at MEd and PhD levels. In May 2016, he reverted back to Jamshedpur to take up the responsibility of province coordinator of secondary and higher education, beside being appointed as Education Resource Center to assess province schools. Professionally, as an educationist, he continues to serve as a professor of psychology in Loyola College of Education, Jamshedpur, and currently holds the post of principal of the college since 2016. So, if I were to go on and on, I would be falling short of words to throw light upon your illustrious career. As I said earlier, I would like to add that you have To your credit, an MCom, MEd, MSc, NET, and PhD in educational psychology, you have also published 21 research papers in national and international journals and have served as guided MEd thesis and worked as PhD adjudicator, conducted 90 seminars, workshops, webinars, and colloquium for administrators, teachers, and students, published textbooks for primary school level in English, maths, and EVS. And the list, no doubt, is endless. So without ado, I hand over the show to you, sir. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
A warm good afternoon to each one of you, ladies and gentlemen, students, and all those who are on screen viewing my talk today, this afternoon. It is a with pleasant words, ma'am has introduced me. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this beautiful words of introduction. I'm grateful to you for this invitation to address our audience and enlighten them with the title that educating the digital learners from the perspective of emotional intelligence with the accent on social emotional learning. So it's a topic, it's a theme that many of us are not familiar with. So it is a new concept, and maybe it has come in 1980s when Daniel Goleman has written that book, Emotional Intelligence, and 1983 onward, it has become very popular, and we have been using that word. We have been using that word, and people are making use of that concept very often, but they are without knowing what it is means and how it can be enhanced. Is the screen visible to you all, ma'am? Is the screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. So this is a theme that we are going to discuss just now: educating digital learners with a socio-emotional accent.
Yeah.
Now, who are the digital learners? Who are these people? Whom do we call as a digital learners? So there are two words here we need to understand. One is the digital and the learners. Now, the digital learners are coming uh, from a person who has invented this word, Mark Prunskite. Mark Prunskite, a U.S. Native, U.S. citizens, a psychologist. In 2001, he brought the word that digital learners. So now, when we go back, the digital learners are who are they, as defined by Mark Prunskite in 2001. Is there are three type of digital people that he has offered to us. The first one is the person who are born, the child which is born in 1980s and beyond 80s, 1980s and beyond 80s, they are called digital natives. That the third one, the third circle below that I have put it digital natives. So they are growing up in a digital world and had depended on it as an integral part of life. So these children were born 1980s and beyond, even today, they are called digital children or digital persons, because without digital accessibility, without technology, without all these electronic gadgets, they will not be able to operate themselves and make a meaningful intervention into the reality. So they are called digital natives. Now, if you go beyond before 1980s, there are two types of people whom you can face with. One is the digital fugitives, and another one is digital immigrants. Now, these are two concepts we need to understand. The digital fugitives are those who avoids technology in favor of conventional learning, because these people like conventional learning and they are used to this conventional learning, the very way that chalkboard method that we are using in the classroom. These people are used to that textbook, chalkboard, and all those conventional method that we are using. They are used to that digital fugitive. And digital immigrants are those who did not grow up with the technology. It's like digital fugitive, yet they have a desire to learn and integrate themselves in their life as in the digital world. So we have got three type of people who are digital natives, are those who are technology dependent people, and digital fugitive is one who do not like to make use of digital thing. They fall upon the conventional method, and digital immigrants are those who would like to, those who are born before 1980, but still they would like to integrate themselves into the digital world. So the today the children who are born today are the called millennial. That is digital technology generation people, next generation people, the different world altogether from us. So this is the word that he used. Today's students are no longer the people or education system or to decide to teach. That means who are these people? They would like to have everything on screen, everything digitalized, everything technology based, everything is modern. So these are the students we are facing in today's world. It is like Time magazine. It has given in May 2013, it has come out with a cover page that me generation. The millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. Why they okay? These people are me all the time with the digital gadgets. Okay. Now, these digital kids, we say it is a little difficult to teach them and keep their attention focused on us, or keep the what we call attention span focused on us for a longer period of time, unless we go in for uh, a screen based education, smart based education, technology based education. We cannot keep their attentions very longer. Why? Because they are digital. Their brain, the way their brain is designed to accept the digital based information rather than the conventional information that we give. So now we call them, they are distracted. The teachers very often label them, these students, these generations are too much into a digital world, and they don't pay attention in the classroom. They are too distracted. But it is not they are too distracted or too, they are not interested or they are not demotivated, but they are overstimulated by the digital world. See, we need anything to be done, stimulation is required. So we all respond to a stimulus. So these children respond to the stimulus of the computer supported systems. So they are overstimulated by digital world rather than the conventional world. So their emotional life is a more apathetic way of living. They are not concerned about many things because it's me, apathetic. Since they are overstimulated with the technology of today, the system that they have, they pay less attention to the human touch, the haptics, the power of touch, the emotional life. They don't seem to be bothered about the other human beings, like that attitude we are facing today. Oh, now that concept is digital learners, we come to understand what who they are, how they are. Now we go to the next segment. It is what is socio-emotional learning? What does it mean? Socio-emotional learning. All learning has an emotional base. Plato has said long ago, all learning has an emotional base. A child, a person will not learn anything without the emotional content in it. So all learning has an emotional base. If it is so, this socio-emotional learning, where does it get the root and how we can see it happening in our students? Because I have said the digital people are apathetic. The digital students are not concerned about the human touch. They only look at that screen all the time and they're too much overstimulated by the digital world. So now, how do we inculcate in them the socio-emotional learning? So now, the socio-emotional learning, it has become very popular in US in 1980s onward. SEL is the process of developing the self-awareness, self-control. The first segment is that is about me, that I am aware of myself and I'm able to take control of myself. So two dimensions of the same phase, self-awareness, self-control. The second phase, second what we call segment is social awareness and interpersonal skills. This is exactly Daniel Goleman, 1983, has come out with a very groundbreaking research that emotional intelligence, with the word emotional intelligence. The word was existing earlier also, but he has made it very popular, this emotional intelligence. See, this emotional intelligence has two segments. Only the first segment is to do with me, and the second segment is to do with the others. So, in the first segment, that is about me or I need to be aware of what is happening to me, and I should be aware of who I am, what I am, and then I will be able to take control of myself. That is a regulatory mechanism that I should have to understand my feelings and emotions. Then once I develop that one, then I can look at others, then look at the reality, what's happening at the reality, then I can be aware of what's happening in front of me and in others, and then I will be able to connect myself with them, with my relationship, with my bonding. Okay. Now that's why this we need to understand the feelings and emotions of others when we develop this. Now, when we have this EI, emotional intelligence, is an oxymoron. Is a word called oxymoron. Oxymoron means it's a two opposing words come together and give another meaning. That is an open secret. Open is not a secret, secret is not open. But we put these two words, open secret means everybody knows about it. So this emotion is just opposite of intelligence. Intelligence is just opposite of emotions. Now, these two words comes together. Emotional intelligence would mean to say that we put intelligence into emotions. Can we make our emotions intelligence? But these two are opposing poles. These two are opposing poles, and can we bring these opposing poles together and bring a new meaning to that word or concept? That is like emotional intelligence. So it's simply put, a simple definition of emotional intelligence is bringing intelligence into your emotions. Let's look at this video. What's happening in this video?
क्लास वर्क करते हैं थोड़े को होते हैं बिल्कुल पिछले साल बुक सिस्टम इज वेरी पढ़ना इसी इंग्लिश की हैंडराइटिंग कभी कभी रशियन जैसी है। जान बूझ के मिस्टेक्स रिपीट करता है। ध्यान हमेशा क्लास के बाहर रहता है। All the time asking for permission to go to the toilet. I'm thirsty, I want to sit. Thirsty, to sit. Thirsty, to sit. Disturbs the whole class with his silly prank. आपने इसके एग्जाम करके सोचे हर सब्जेक्ट में अंडे वाले आपने इसकी एग्जाम पिछले वेडनेसडे को पेरेंट्स सिग्नेचर के लिए आज तक वापस नहीं आए। You were a sight actually, Mrs. Awasthi. In fact, I sent a letter specially to meet you. That's 3 to 9 is equal to 3. बस इसके बाद सारे सवाल छोड़ कौन मानेगा ये युवान अवस्थी का छोटा भाई।
मिस्टर अवस्थी,
Yes.
वैसे भी थर्ड स्टैंडर्ड में आपके बेटे का ये दूसरा साल, अगर ऐसे ही चलता रहा तो सॉरी, मैं आपकी कोई मदद नहीं कर पाऊंगी। शायद इसे कोई प्रॉब्लम है, शायद वो कुछ बच्चे बदमाशी होते और ऐसे बच्चों के लिए अलग से स्पेशल स्कूल्स में
Okay, in this short clip of is a film Tare Zameen Par. Now you see, now the two opposing forces are in operation. Two opposing forces. One is the child goes through emotional turmoil, and the parents go through emotional turmoil, and the teachers goes through emotional turmoil. But here, the teachers, the administration, the principals want to make intelligence as something more than the emotions. So, an emotionally intelligent person should be able to address the problem very appropriately. The person who has integrated emotion intelligence would be able to look for words that would enhance the both side, emotion and intelligence. But here, these two parties are going into an exercise where they are simply aggravating the problem. So we need to understand the feelings of others. We need to go by study the emotions and feelings of others, and how do we respond appropriately according to it, without failing to bringing intelligence into it. That's the challenge here. We need to bring intelligence into emotions, but how do we bring? How do we integrate? How do we address the problem? It is remaining a big challenge. And that's what we are going to address today. What is the reversal? Now you see the reversal. What happens here?
Sorry, जगह जरा कम। यहाँ कैसे?
फैक्ट्री के काम से आया था।
ईशान से मिले?
नहीं अभी नहीं, मिलूंगा। पहले आपसे कुछ बात करनी
भाई,
मेरी वाइफ काफी दिनों से इंटरनेट सर्फिंग कर रही है। इस लक्ष्य पे छपी सारी जानकारी उसने पढ़ डाली। आपको
क्यों? मुझे क्यों बताना था?
भाई, कहीं आप ये सोच के ना बैठे हो कि हम उन लोगों में से हैं जो अपने बच्चों का ख्याल नहीं करते।
ख्याल करना बहुत जरूरी है मिस्टर अवस्थी। इसमें इलाज की शक्ति है, एक मरहम है जिससे दर्द मिटता है। बच्चे को तसल्ली हो जाती है कि उसका कोई ख्याल करता है। एक आध छप्पी, प्यार भरी पप्पी, ये दिखाने को कि मैं ख्याल करता हूँ, बेटा मैं तुमसे प्यार करता हूँ। अगर कोई फिक्र हो तो मेरे पास आओ। क्या हुआ जो तुम फिसले? गलती हुई, मैं हूं ना, ये दिलासा। ख्याल करना, ख्याल करना इसी को कहते हैं ना मिस्टर अवस्थी। मुझे खुशी हुई ये सुनकर कि आपको लगता है कि आप ख्याल करते हैं। मैं चलता हूं। मिस्टर अवस्थी, आपकी वाइफ ने सोलोमन आइलैंड्स के बारे में कुछ पढ़ा इंटरनेट पर? मुझे नहीं पता। सोलोमन आइलैंड्स में जब आदिवासियों को जंगल का कोई हिस्सा साफ करना होता है खेती के लिए, तो वो पेड़ दरख्तों को काटते नहीं, महज उस पेड़ के पास सारे पहुंच जाते हैं और जी भर के गालियां देते हैं, कोसते हैं। देखते ही देखते कुछ ही दिनों में पेड़ मुरझा जाता है, अपने आप ही मर जाता है।
So, my dear students and the viewers, ladies and gentlemen, these two clips are enough to exemplify the topic. We have digital children with us, digital students with us. The digital students are not devoid of their emotions. They are not away from the emotions. They are part of them. But now we need to understand their disposition and be able to respond it accordingly, appropriately, without losing the importance of putting intelligence into their mind and brain. Now, their thought process, their data filtering, their speed up, the neural connectivity, the synapses that's happening in the brain, the bonding that happens in the brain, everything depends upon the response that we give. So a teacher has a great challenge in front of him or her to respond to a situation, respond to his students or students in such a way that he is able to put socio-emotional learning into the person who desires to be more intellectual, who desire to be more be bright and brilliant. So how do we do that? That's why Plato has said all learning has emotional base. So the learning is greater or lesser depending upon the proportion of the relationship that the child develops towards the teacher or not. I repeat, the learning of a student is greater or lesser in proportion to the likes and dislikes that students develop towards his or her teacher. That's the first premise. The second premise is that the learning is greater or lesser in proportion to the likes and dislikes a students develop towards his or her subject, whichever subject the child studies or the students learn. So it is a proportional. If the child doesn't like the teacher, if the student doesn't like, the learner doesn't like the teacher, whatever the best teacher could be with regard to the subject knowledge, with regard to his knowledge and understanding and wisdom and everything, if the person, the learner, doesn't like the teacher, the learning is mighty little, because our brain has already, the neural connections are such that it processing 1 trillion data and able to give the output. And immediately our system either accepts or rejects. The dopamine derived system, driven system, the brain driven system, either she accepts or rejects. And basically our brain is designed to accept only new material, a new venture, a new methodology, a new pedagogy. It accepts only that, not the conventional one. So the digital learner's mind and brain will accept and acknowledge and appreciate only new material, new knowledge, new venture, new project, new pedagogy. And at the same time, it will reject all that is old, all that is redundant, all that is conventional. So we need to design our mind, our brain, to correlate these two aspects. If the brain is the organ for learning, then why aren't teachers brain experts? This is my basic questions. I have been doing my research from 2012 onward. 8 I have started, 2012 I completed my PhD on this, and I have been keep on learning, researching and observing people behavior and trying to understand the behavior pattern of each individuals. And I come to know the brain, you are your brain. You are your brain. The way you think, you become. You are your thoughts. So the processing of your thoughts, the processing of your data, the processing of your information will give you your behavioral orientations. So if the brain is the center of our learning, then why aren't our teachers brain experts? They should be able to learn the brain functioning and they should become experts. So how much learning is happening in your classroom? Just understand how much is happening in your classroom. Why students don't pay attention in a classroom? Why don't they pay attention to your classroom? It is not them. It is not, the problem is not with them. It is, the problem is with us as teachers, that I need to understand the brain function first. How do we miss that? How do we begin the class? You just look at and observe the way we begin the class. We begin the class by attendance, taking attendance, giving instruction, and then you go to textual, the textbook. Attendance, instruction, text. So our brain will reject all those things because you are merely a teacher. You are not an educator. You are not an academician. So start giving instruction is the weakest area of a teacher, as a teacher. Don't do this, do this, do that. It is demonstrating the weakest area of a teacher. So the self system of the brain is a task important to me. The brain will tell us whether that task the teacher is giving is important to me. It is personally relevant today. Is it relevant? Will I be successful based upon the past experience? Do I have the positive feeling about the class itself? So it is the emotional climate in the classroom, the emotional ambience in the classroom that will give you a lot more to stimulate our brain. So brain research tells us that all learning begins with the self system. That is me, my brain, how it analyzes the data, how it absorbs and analyzes my data. That gives a lot more my outlook. The self system determines whether we will engage in the learning and how much energy or enthusiasm we will bring to the event. So my system will tell me whether I have to engage myself in this learning process or I have to withdraw. Or if I going to show my energy, how much energy should I spend? Enthusiasm I should show in the event of the class. It tells me very exactly. For something to be important to us, it must satisfy a basic need or instrumental in achieving the basic goal. My goal has to be achieved. As long as my goal is not achieved through this exercise, this event, instruction, or the teaching, then I am not going to learn anything. So information that is not seen as a relevant is discarded by the brain. You see, information which is not relevant, the filtering system is going on. And if it is the information is old and redundant and outdated, then my brain will not accept. This is a basic premise that we need to understand. So neuroscience teaches us that most of what we learn comes to us through the five senses. The brain filters out 98 of the incoming information. Understand this one. 98% of the data that goes into the brain is filtering and giving us the motivation or enthusiasm to learn. The brain rules out that which it determines is not important. Emotion is the strongest force by embedding information into the brain's long-term memory. So every information has an emotional content. Discover that. If the emotional content is high, we start learning. We add more emotions to learning through sound, celebrations of the learnings, visual stimulation, and real-world applications. So my brain is my system. It is my system who tells me what to filter, how much to filter, and that filtered information will give me the orientation, enthusiasm to engage myself fully into that or not. The whole thing is processed and finally I come out of that. So students need a positive emotional climate in the classrooms. Positive emotional climate in the classroom. Acceptance by the teacher. Students need to have a hope that they can be successful in the eyes of the teacher. A teacher who encourages the students, appreciates the students in front of the classroom, she is doing a immense service to the students, and she is one who can really make the students to go to walk miles apart, and they walk an extra miles. So it is always a positive stroke. It is always the appreciation. It is always encouraging the students in front of others, will stimulate him. It can overstimulate him to do better things in his life. Accepted by the peers. Students need to feel safe in the classrooms. So my own companions are accepting me. My own companions are appreciating me. That will give more energy to the student. A sense of order. The brain seeks order and consistency. In silence, we learn a lot. In chaotic situation, we don't learn. So that's the sense of order should be there. Clarity of task. The students need to understand the direction and have adequate time before performing task. The teacher lists the thing, this should be done, this sequential order. Then things are becoming very easier. Resources for success, including books, material, computers, adequate time and opportunities for practice should be there. Resources should be available. Emotional intelligence, finally, very important. Knowing one's emotion, managing emotion, motivating oneself, recognize emotion, others, handling relationship is far more important to make the classroom work for you. So the emotional connections, prior knowledge, novelty, the deeper learning depending upon the emotional connect, the synopsis, then the previous knowledge that we have, then in newness, innovation, novelty, imagination, creativity, that all will work. So imagination, innovation should interact with each other and make the learning better. So prepare them for exam. That is not the good way to do that. Academic should not be, we are good at preparing them for exam. That is not the end and the end of that academic life. That is not the purpose of academic life. So brain-friendly categories, positive emotion, gratitude, optimism, curiosity. This will help a lot. In early and continuing on through adolescent, 20% response are reflective with conscious control, 80% reactive, involuntary response from the older brain limbic system. So 80% of the response coming from the limbic system. That doesn't come from the rational brain, but that comes from the limbic system. I will show you the limbic system where it is. Now you see this one is a brainstem, second one cerebellum, third one is you have got that is a rational brain, and that in between bhavanatmak mastiks, that is emotional brain. So 80% of the thing comes from here, the middle portion. That means your pranali, limbic pranali, that is a bhavanatmak buddhi, that's emotional intelligence, will very dominant, the learning process. So that's what it says. That so 20% only from the rational brain and 80% coming from the emotional brain. How do we research? Reach a focused attention with the novelty? Curiosity drives attention. No threat is perceived, then attention is focus is there. Causes of stress, overpacked curriculum, fear of being wrong, test taking, frustration with the difficult material, boredom from lack of stimulation, embarrassment. These should be pay attention. So why do students drop out from school? Because 75% of material wasn't interesting. What we are teaching learning process, if 75% of the material was not interesting, then people will drop out, students will drop out. 39% material wasn't relevant. This is all research-based data. 39 material was not your old data, conventional one, primitive one. 37% no interaction with the teachers. Teachers don't interact. It's a monologue going on. Boredom is stressful. So what should we do? Create a community of classroom and culture that feels safe and accepting. Consistent guideline. Teachers, students face or control the response and monitoring the emotion. Visualization and activities that are physical and the tactical movement engages 100% of the brain. Okay. So now students are dopamine driven, dopamine, spelling mistake is there. Dopamine driven students is there are dopamine is a happy chemical that our brain or mind secretes. Secretion of the dopamine gives a good feeling, happy chemicals. So movement, playing music, storytelling, choices, gratitude of circles and journals, interaction with friends, social exposure, video games. They are so powerful and keep a child's attention because they produce a lot of happy, feel-good chemicals in the body. How much teacher quality mattered? 43% of the students' academic performance can be traced to the quality of the teaching in the class. That's a research. 43%. That means a major percentage of thing is to do with the teachers. So now we have gone into one child family. So that's to do a lot with the emotional bonding, and the child is spoiled sometimes. The child is lonely. The child is very introvert. All those problems are coming into the world together. So teachers, finally, I'll ask you a question: are you a connector or are a container? You can either connect with the children or you can contain everything with yourself and forget about it. So what we need to know? So we need to know the brain science. So this what exactly I would be able to um, I will be able to offer you this through this talk, that today we are dealing with the digital learners. The digital learners are not devoid of emotions, and the emotional stimulation help the learning, enhance their learning. The emotional stimulation is so good, so positive, so proactive, then the learning is very proactive, energetic, and the what we call enhancing learning will take place. So thank you very much, and you are now free to raise questions.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Using digital tools to promote social and emotional learning, I think in the present scenario, helps academically to polish the emotional skills in a student. Also, I hope you will agree with me, Father. Factors like
Yes.
empathy, gratitude, self humility, compassion, courage, and self reflection. While many may contribute and also attribute technology to be the culprit in isolating people and making them well less humans, the tables can be turned when we can leverage technology to be an omnipresent ally that can improve social and psychological paradigms of the human mind, as Father very clearly depicted through different slides. So, Father, you have touched upon some very relevant questions like all learning has an emotional base, and students need a very positive emotional climate for growth in academics as well as in their personal lives. Is there enough motivation to begin a lesson in a class? You have also delved deeply into the brain friendly categories like proliferation, pruning, and myelination of the brain. You have also given us some thought provoking questions like: is teacher a connector or a container? And what do parents need to know? So, very relevant points, Father, you have taken up this afternoon, and I'm sure that our viewers have greatly benefited from it. And those viewers who will eventually be viewing it later on will also carry some wonderful takeaways from your presentation. With your permission, I would like to put forward a question, Father. In today's scenario, how can digital tools help to build the emotional health and well being of our students?
Yeah, it's a very important, very challenging question to me. Thank you, madam, for this question. Digital tools are tools. It's a means to learn something more for life. Digital tools are not the end. That's only a means. They are the starter. They are instruments that helps us to learn something for life. Okay. Now the digital tools should not be used in such a way that we are over dependent on that tools. At times, what happens? Everything we depend on the tools. So we need to go for digital rituals sometime. A ritual, I mean, say that anti-digital ritual we have to go for in order to attune to our emotions, because we are not spending more time for ourselves and detaching ourselves from the tools. Sometimes we have to do it, and yes, of course, when I need, as and when I need the digital tools, I have to use it. But that is not the only way that we can connect with people. Because what we need to is we are missing the connections. We are missing the bonding in the family. The family doesn't have a family time. The table time is not there. The parents don't come together, and the children don't sit at the table and talk to each other very freely, openly, and exchange certain amount of the familial problems, difficulties, and stress, and joys and sorrows as a family. So as a result, what each one is living together, they are living together in the family without even realizing the fact they are living separately. They are living separately under the one roof. So the main thing is we have to use the digital tools to enhance our knowledge, but we should not be overstimulated by the digital tools. We ignore the whole human relationship and human bonding and human touch. The haptics should be there, human touch. The power of touch should be there. That I touch the lives of people. That should be there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Father. One more question, Father. If in a nutshell, you could throw some light upon some of the possible ways to teach socio emotional learning skills to our students.
Okay, the one method I try here in my school is uh, we bring out a group
Group,
dynamics with the group dynamics, the peer group. So what I do is we give a time frame, a time period for the students to come together and share freely whatever they feel like sharing in the group, the joys they experience, the presence of each other they experience, the company they experience, the joyful moment they experience. Start with the joyful experiences of the students. So then they come out with a lot of things that's going on, the dynamic within the group. So they feel happy that they shared something with others, and this works marvels to me. I always then another method is I always you always be give you a positive stroke. You give something good about that person, speak something good about the person, give something that would stimulate him, something that would make him to secret dopamine, happy chemicals in him, feel good factor. So that works a lot. The growth. Yes.
very
And I
well
had
said, Father. Thank you so much for enriching
yes.
us with your words and expertise. It was definitely a pleasure to listen to your most valuable inputs, and we are really privileged to have you with us this afternoon. Thank you so much, Father.
Thank you,
With this,
madam.
I thank our audience to be who were there with us and who will eventually be there and see the entire presentation and definitely come to some very valuable conclusions. Thank you, Father. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.